Everybody, this is John. Welcome to the free video. I've been out a little bit on hiatus going through, well, I'll show you here real quick, and before I talk about this chart, which is super important. I'll tell you why I did this here in a second. I know this is, for some of you, you're not going to care what I just did in terms of travels, which I totally get. So I'm going to make this as short as possible. So my wife and I and 3 young kids, we just spent 16 days where part of that was in Copenhagen and part of that was in Stockholm, where I was talking to other traders, speaking to groups. It was amazing. I've never been to Copenhagen. That was amazing. I'd been to Stockholm twice before. One of my favorite cities on the planet, if not the favorite city on the planet. What a cool group. And then spent a week at this place outside of Florence called Spinocchia at a writer's workshop with this wonderful writer named Ann Hood. More about that later. Obviously, I'm trying to work on my 3rd edition of the book and get that cleaned up. But while I was there and on these long flights, I had a lot of thoughts about trading, which I'll get to here shortly. One of the things about travel is we were very excited about the idea that Maria and I, we were like, wow, we made it with all the kids. This is a cool place in Italy. We met up with our old au pair from Stockholm. In Stockholm, this was me just dealing with the internet. This was us in Italy. We also met up with our former au pair, Sarah from Germany, Ramsey, who's also awesome. So anyway, just a great trip overall. So who cares, right? So the reason I bring that up is that while I was there, I had a lot of thoughts about setups, okay? And one of the things that we talk about in terms of setups, and especially with this indicator, is the idea, you can see this thing turn green. It's a kind of an early warning indicator that the squeeze is about to go. And you can see here we actually had a pretty decent move. It wasn't fantastic. We shortly thereafter ripped higher, but we had plenty of time to get out. But we just got another signal here on the S&Ps on the 195-minute chart. We got the early warning indicator that this squeeze is not only about to trigger short, but to trigger short in a potentially a big way. When you get the early warning indicator, you typically have a bigger kind of momentum there, okay? And by the way, you got to be sure that you're looking at the futures, because you're not going to see this so much. If we go over here to the spiders, you can see there's no squeeze, so you're kind of flying blind. But because we're looking at the S&Ps, we know that the S&Ps here have actually the potential for a good move down, right? So we saw this today setting up, and we just kind of picked up some spider puts. Not a huge position, and you can see we're going out 30 days. Now, the signal that we're looking at there is only typically 3 to 4 days. But whenever you're buying options, you want to give yourself the gift of time, okay? And the 3 things that you want to look at here are direction, okay, volatility, and the potential for income, DVI. And this is a classic case of pure direction. You've got low volatility, okay, on the S&Ps, not on other stocks, okay, and it's actually deceptive because the skew is so high. So the puts are actually more expensive than normal, okay. But if we understand the directional setup, then we can take it into account the volatility and the potential for income, and then we can set up the best potential play on this. So on the spiders, I went with directional puts, but with the SPX cash index, I actually went and sold premium on this based on those same factors that I was telling you about, okay? So you can see that there's a call credit spread, and then on the S&Ps, went pure directional here. And you can see at this point where we hear open profits of like $3,000. Right now you can see a little bit of volatility there. But based on those 3 factors, direction, volatility, and the potential for income, we know exactly how to set up those plays. So anyway, I'm looking for the S&Ps to go lower, right, over the next 3 to 4 days. All right, so to that end, kind of the brainstorm as we were going, I was like going, if we're looking at this stuff, I mean, the market's changing. It's going to be volatile and different from anything we've ever seen into the end of this year. And I think 2016 is going to be the same thing. I mean, we've got an unprecedented time on the planet where the world's awash with cash. There's nowhere to put it. Is that going to create massive inflation, or is that going to create massive deflation? Well, there are specific ways to figure that out. And at the end of the day, when we see a setup And I mean, here's the worst thing, right? Is that you see a chart set up and you're like, okay, this is going to go higher. So you buy some options on it and you lose money, right? Or you think this is going to go lower and you do some kind of an option strategy, but you lose money on it because you didn't understand the three components of every setup having to do with options, which is one, directional probability, two, the volatility component, and three, the income potential. And really this class is called, essentially the DVI class, with the idea that we can go into any setup and understand that at a moment's notice and make the best play possible on that setup. So to that end, we're going to do this. It's the first time we've ever done this. We're the three of us that focus on this stuff. So directional is myself, that's JC. Volatility is Don Kaufman. Most of you know him. And then income potential is Bruce. And we're going to sit down on a Saturday. We're going to go through all this stuff and essentially combine the best of the best and show you the best way to take advantage of this stuff going forward. Okay. Now we're going to have a live trading component to that as well. And you guys have seen, if you guys have seen this in the past, you know how it works. The Saturday class is designed to give you essentially the best information on how to, for a very reasonable price if you got a small account. I mean, this is the idea is that, hey, with one lot, you can recover this in a couple of trades. If you want to expand from there, we're going to go and do 3 days of live trading, okay, and that includes the Saturday class. So the Saturday class is upcoming this Saturday, October 24th from 2 to 6 East Coast time, and then the following week, and you can see here on the 28th, 29th, 30th, essentially during market hours, we're going to do live trading. And then we've had a lot of people express disappointment that they were not able to get into our November Vegas class. Now, this is a small class. We limit it to 50 people. It's more of a hands-on training, and we're just opening up a new class. We've actually typically only do one a year. So we're going to do this one at the end of January, so January 31st through February 2nd. If that's something where you're like, you know what, I really want to do that, well, this includes the live class and, of course, the Saturday class. To me, if you're like, okay, I want to take this to the next level, that's what you do. And at that live class, obviously it's going to be myself. We'll have Don there, Bruce, and a couple of other folks. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you guys are excited about this as I am. Essentially just kind of bringing this all together, really getting the best of the best of the best for myself, Don, and Bruce, and taking this home into the end of the year. All right, you guys have a fantastic evening. Good luck on the short trade. We'll see you at the next update.